Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. So for today's session, we are going to be talking about our pre-market live analysis. Before we get started, I'm going to give about 1 more minute to let more people join our session before we get started, because I can still see some people coming in. So yeah, in the meantime, let me know if you guys have any requests in the chat, and also let me know if you guys can see me and hear me as well. And yep, I will start in about 1 more minute. Thanks everyone. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So as per usual, a disclaimer and risk warning: trading forex and CFDs carries a high level of risk to your capital, and you should only trade with money you can afford to lose. Trading forex and CFDs may not be suitable for all investors, so please ensure that you fully understand the risk involved and seek independent advice if necessary. Please read and ensure you fully understand our risk disclosure. Wait, can everybody still see me? Okay, just give me a second. Okay, can everyone see me? Okay, I think it works now. But again, let me know if there are any issues. Okay, let's continue. So here's our agenda for today. We are going to start off by looking at some FX majors, followed by commodities, cryptos, and indices, and then followed by any custom requests. Okay. I'll try and speak a little bit slower so that it doesn't sound so choppy. I'm not too sure what else I can do about that. Okay. But if you guys can't hear me, just let me know in the chat as well. So I'm Melanie, and I'll be your host for today. I'm an investment analyst at Rocket, who are finalist for Best FX and Equity Research in the years 2019 to 2021, specializing in technical analysis with a focus in Fibonacci retracements, extensions, and projections. Okay, so before we get started, let's go ahead and take a look at all of the fundamental events for this week, or the economic data releases for this week. Okay, so feel free to use whichever um whichever economic calendar you wish. This is just the one that we normally use. It's just forexfactory.com. So this is what it looks like when you first go into the page. I'm clicking on today's date, and let's take a look at this week's events. Apply settings, and you can see all the events for this week. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and filter it so that we're only focusing mainly on the um, orange and the red icons, which are the medium and high impact events. So yellow is low impact, gray is any non-economic events, so that would be any bank holidays. You can also filter out any event types and currencies that you're not currently trading. Okay, so you can see it's a lot more streamlined, and we can focus on the events that have the greatest impact on our charts. So for today, we have the ANZ Business Confidence meeting at 10 a.m. We also have China's manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI. We have Euro-German preliminary CPI data. That's forecasted to be slightly higher than previous at 0.1%. We also have Chicago PMI. Tomorrow we'll have Fed Chair Powell speaking. Business confidence in New Zealand as well. Australia's retail sales and US CPI data. Both expected to be slightly lower at 2.7 and 1.9. And US final manufacturing PMI at 47. On Wednesday, we have the ISM manufacturing PMI, job openings, ISM manufacturing prices. All of this is for US. And we also have the ADP non-farm employment change, US crude oil inventories, CPI data in Switzerland, expected to be slightly lower than previous at 0.1. US unemployment claims, final services PMI, and on Friday we have ISM services PMI, UK construction PMI, and US average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and unemployment rates. Okay, so that's all the economic events for this week. Let me just pull up my charts. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start off by looking at DXY. And I like to start off by looking at the higher time frames so that we get an idea of the general direction that prices are headed towards. So you can see in recent times that the DXY has been dropping quite a bit. On our daily time frame, we also see prices dropping. Okay, we see prices kind of moving in this descending trend. Okay, there isn't a trend line here. Let's see if there's a trend channel. Okay, we have prices moving in. Okay, there's no trend channel or trend line here because for a trend channel we need it to touch the top and the bottom at least twice, but in this case we don't have that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started with our support and resistance levels. Okay, so I've placed my pivot at this kind of really big swing low support that's in line with 1, 2, 3, 4 swing lows. And that's my pivot. My first resistance, I placed it at this pullback level in line with 3 other swing lows. And for my first support, I've just placed it at this overlap level. Overlaps basically a swing high and swing low when they line up in that same area. So now that we have our horizontal areas, I'll now go in with my Fibonacci levels. Okay, so even though this 78.6 lines up nicely with our pivot, price is already broken out of this level. So I'm gonna get rid of this level and just keep the 100. I'm also gonna add a intermediate level because in line with this 100 is this swing low here. Okay, so this is kind of an intermediate support level. Okay, also in line with that, we have the 127 as well as our 161.8. So I'll keep both of that. Okay, for this, we are using this Nike tick kind of shape, which is just inverted. It's kind of just an inverted Nike tick. So you can use this as long as price has surpassed 100% of the initial move. Okay, if it's an upright Nike tick, this is what it looked like. So since it's inverted, it's just like that. Okay, um, okay, now I'm going in with just a normal retracement. Here you can see my 61.8 lines up nicely with that intermediate support. So I'm just gonna keep that level. Okay, so you can see this area here, we already have a confluence area. So just to recap, a confluence area is basically when two or more Fibonacci levels line up in that same area. Okay, so what's important about these areas is that price tends to get attracted to those areas, but price might not be able to push past it. Okay, just another retracement, 38.2 lines up with our first resistance. Okay, I think that's all the levels that we have. So now I'm just going to go in with our indicators to see if they support our analysis. I like to start off with Ichimoku and MACD because at one glance we can see exactly what the signals are. Okay, so for Ichimoku, price is moving below the cloud, so it is giving us a bearish signal. MACD, you can see, is giving us more of a bullish momentum, so it doesn't really support our analysis. So I'll remove that. Let's look at Bollinger Bands. Okay, you can see prices pushing below the bottom of our the bottom band of the Bollinger Band. So that does support our analysis. Okay, so we are expecting prices to continue to drop from our pivot towards our first support. We're just being really aware of this confluence area here. Okay, maybe let's look at RSI as well. Okay, RSI, we have prices moving in this descending trend line. Okay, so that's also a bearish signal. Okay, that's for DXY. Are there any questions for this? Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at gold. Okay. So again, I'm going to start off by looking at our weekly time frame. Okay, and let's firstly take a look at our weekly time frame, and you can see prices moving upwards. On our daily time frame, you can also see prices moving upwards here. Okay, so we're just gonna analyze this on our daily time frame. So you can see prices moving upwards, and also earlier we saw DXY kind of giving us a bearish momentum. So we know gold would generally be the opposite of that. So here we have, let's see if we have a trend line. Okay, not really. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add our support and resistance levels. Here's gonna be my first support. Up here will be my pivot. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in with a Fibonacci retracement. Okay, maybe a projection here for our first resistance. Okay, So for this projection, just to recap again, if you're unfamiliar, we are looking for this kind of lightning bolt shape, and then we are projecting where prices are gonna head towards. Okay, so here you can see my 61.8 lines up nicely with my pivot. I'll go ahead and add a first resistance here and a second resistance up here. Okay, I'm gonna go in with a retracement here. 23.6 lines up nicely. Okay, let's see if we have another projection. Okay, no. Okay, we can't use these levels even though it does line up because price has already broken out of those levels. Okay, that might be all the levels that we have. So let's go ahead and look at it on a shorter time frame. Okay, my 78.6 lines up with my pivot. So you can see we have a confluence area here again. Okay, and you can already see prices kind of reacting off this pivot, this confluence area. Okay, but generally we would follow we like to just follow the general trend. So that's why we are still going for a buy towards our first resistance here, even though there is a little bit of resistance at our pivot currently. Okay, if I go in with another retracement, you can see our 50% lines up with our support. Okay, let's look at some indicators. So prices are moving above the cloud, so it's still giving us a bullish signal. MACD, you can see, is giving us a bit of a bearish momentum here, which is expected since prices recently bounced or reversed off the pivot. Let's also look at RSI and Bollinger Bands. Okay, so Bollinger Bands, you can kind of see a bit of a squeeze over here. So we might actually see prices, okay, generally still moving upwards, but there is a bit of a squeeze. So we might see prices, move out of the Bollinger Band. Okay, so I'll KIV our Bollinger Band for now, because for now it's not really telling us much. If we look at RSI, you can, let's see, okay, we have prices moving in this ascending trend line. So that's also a bullish signal. Okay, MACD is not telling us, does not support our analysis, so I remove that. And maybe we'll look at stochastic as well. Okay, stochastic, you can kind of see prices moving in that ascending trend line as well. Okay. Yeah, so that's it for gold. Okay, next, let's take a look at euro dollar. Okay, so if we compare our DXY and euro dollar on the same scale, okay, you can see the negative correlation between the two. So we won't say exactly that if DXY is going up, we'll 100% see euro dollar going down, or vice versa. It's more like you kind of have an idea of it, so we won't say for sure, but it does help you decide the direction. You still do have to look at the charts individually and do your own analysis. Okay, so on our weekly time frame, you can see prices kind of dropping. Um, although there is a slight increase recently. Okay, on our daily time frame, we see prices moving upwards. Let's see if we have any trend lines or trend channels. Oops. Okay, we do have prices moving in this ascending trend channel. Okay, so going going in with a pivot. Okay, just at this level where price is currently at. And then I'm going in with a resistance. Okay, and my first support, maybe just here at the overlap. Okay, so here's my first support. Okay, now going in with our Fibonacci levels again. Oops. Okay, my 61.8 lines up nicely with my pivot. If I go in with a projection over here, Okay, my 61.8 lines up with my first resistance. Okay, 38.2 with our first support, and okay, 78.6 as well as a 100. Okay, so when it comes to confluence areas, it doesn't have to line up exactly in line with your horizontal level. Just as long as it's kind of close to it, that's good enough. Because as I mentioned earlier, we are looking for areas instead of specific levels. Okay, so this is our confluence area here. Okay, if we go in with a Nike tick here. Okay, no. Okay, I think okay, we have another 100% projection that lines up with our resistance levels. Okay, but I think that's all the levels we have here. So again, going in with our indicators, gonna start off with Ichimoku and MACD. So prices are moving above the clouds, so it is giving us a bullish signal. You can see MACD is giving us a slightly bullish signal as well, so I'll just keep both. And our RSI, you can see prices moving in this ascending trend line. Okay, so that's also giving us, that also supports our analysis. Maybe we'll look at Bollinger Bands as well. Okay, you can see prices pushing above the upper band, so it is also giving us a bullish signal. Okay, so we are expecting prices to continue within this ascending trend channel, and okay, just be careful since prices, or rather since the pivot is in line with a couple of Fibonacci levels, we might see a little bit of resistance here. Okay, but overall, it seems like there is quite a bit of bullish momentum to move it above our pivot and head towards our first resistance. Okay, okay, let's also look at US 100. Okay, let me just check to make sure I've saved all my charts. Um, okay, okay, let's take a look at um okay, so on our US 100, can see prices moving upwards. Okay, it's been fluctuating a little bit, but the general trend has still been pretty bullish. So I'm gonna place my first resistance there, my pivot just at this swing high. And my first support, maybe just here. Okay, so you can kind of see this Nike tick shape quite clearly here. Okay, and you can see prices retracing off of that 161.8 level. So I'm gonna keep the 161.8. Okay, you can see how 50% lines up. Okay, 100% lines up with our first resistance as well. Okay, I'm just gonna add an intermediate support level here. Okay, no, not really. Because there are too many candlesticks here. So I was gonna place one in line with a swing high, one of these swing highs, but there's a bit too many candlesticks in this area, so it's not too effective. Okay, if I have another Nike tick, sorry, Nike tick level here. Okay, we have a 161.8. Let's check the 127. Okay, 127 is in line with our pivot as well. So in case you can't see it, it's just a smaller one here. Okay, and I am projecting it to move upwards, continue in this uptrend towards our first resistance, especially since our first resistance is quite a big confluence area. Okay, so going in with our indicators again, price is moving above the cloud, so it's giving us a bullish signal. MACD, you can see, is also giving us a bullish signal. If we look at Bollinger Bands, I don't think. Oh, yes, okay. Bollinger Bands are also moving above the upper band, so it's also giving us a bullish signal. Let's also look at RSI. Okay, RSI in this case isn't really telling us much, so I'm not going to use it. Okay, so that's for US 100. Okay, we still have some time. Are there any other charts that you guys would like me to go through? Okay, maybe we can look at um, AUD as well. Okay, if we look at our weekly time frame, you can see prices kind of dropping with recent prices moving up. Daily time frame, you can see prices moving upwards as well. Okay, I'll place my first resistance here, or rather my pivot, and then my first resistance maybe up here at these double swing highs. And then for my first support, I'll just place it here. Okay, going in with our Fibonacci levels, my 161.8 lines up nicely. This is another Nike tick. Okay, and my projections. Okay, my 100% lines up with our pivot. Okay, 61.8 lines up with our first resistance. I might have another retracement here. Okay, my 23.6 lines up nicely with our first support. Okay, my 78.6 also lines up with our pivot. Okay, so we can see this confluence area here. We have about three Fibonacci levels that line up. So you just want to be careful in this area around our pivot. So we might see a bit of resistance here. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at our indicators. So prices are moving above the cloud, so it is giving us a bullish momentum. Bullish signal. MACD is giving us bullish momentum, and RSI isn't really telling us much again. If we look at our Bollinger Bands, you can see prices pushing above the upper band, so it is also giving us a bullish signal. Okay, so in this case, we are expecting prices to push above this confluence area and continue towards our first resistance. I just highlighted this resistance area to just be careful because of the confluence area here. But there should be enough. Looks like there's bullish momentum to push it upwards. Okay. Any questions? Any other requests? So this is for AUD. We can also compare this on the same chart with our Kiwi dollar, which is quite similar. Normally they have a pretty positive correlation. So you can see the pink line chart represents our Kiwi dollar, and it's quite similar in the terms of the direction of the chart. So if you're looking at AUD, you can kind of look at Kiwi dollar as well. Yeah, because the direction is generally the same. Okay. Are there any other requests, any other questions you guys have? No? Okay, I got some questions about Fibonacci and how exactly it works. So I do try to draw out um the shapes, the specific shapes that we're looking at. So that's why I've been drawing the Nike ticks or that lightning bolt shapes. But if you're still unfamiliar, stay tuned for our Fibonacci webinar series where we go through in depth each Fibonacci technique along with a lot of examples. But feel free to also look at this website. It's completely free to use. We're just going through the retracements, so there's some videos as well on YouTube. Some things to look out for, some guidelines, which levels to use. This is for retracement, which I've also been using. We have some negative levels as well, so I didn't really use the negative today. But we have some shapes to show you what exactly you should look out for. And I think the most important part would be trying to find confluence areas like these that I've been talking about throughout all the webinars. So we also have some trade management techniques. So to place your stop loss beyond, take profit before. Okay, something like this. And yeah, so we have some more examples on how to find confluence levels, where to place your take profit stop loss levels. All these you can find in the trading guides, which is just on the forexarmy.com, how to draw a Fibonacci retracement correctly. So in case you guys have any questions about any of the Fibonacci I've gone through, you can just feel free to check out this website as well. Okay, if there are no other questions or requests, that's all I have for you guys for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys found this session helpful, and I will see you guys again next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Have a great rest of your week.